When it comes to mysteries, the oceans have been the scene of all sorts of unexplained events since the dawn of mankind. However, one of the busiest periods recorded on them was during the First and Second World Wars. During this period, ships, aircraft carriers, submarines, and an infinite number of vessels crossed the waters loaded with weapons ready to kill, although they didn't always succeed. Passengers departed from one place but never reached their destination, and those who did were never the same again. Would you like to find out what happened to them? Are you ready to learn about the 4 creepiest ocean mysteries of World War I? Then you'd better stay glued to your chair and get ready to go on a journey to the heart of the ocean. Number 4. When a missing ship is found, there usually are visible traces of what happened. Dead bodies of the crew, or some clues to help determine the circumstances that led to the tragic event. However, during World War I, something unusual happened. History knows it as one of the most puzzling events at sea, and it occurred off the north coast of Kent in southeast England. From this location, the Sabrina Falmouth sailed, a coal-filled merchant ship that disappeared into the ocean after a couple of days. When its arrival date came, the ship was nowhere to be found, and it wasn't until a week later that the French authorities found it in Cherbourg, completely intact, but shrouded in an unusual mystery. Upon boarding the vessel, the authorities discovered that there wasn't a single crew member on board. All objects, belongings, merchandise, and other goods were on the ship, but there wasn't a single human being on board. There was also no sign of violence, and the captain's logbook was found, but there was no unusual record in it. There was no bad weather en route, nor was there any recorded incident. The crew completely disappeared. But the question that still hangs in the air is, how did they disappear? Numerous theories seem to indicate that the ship was hijacked by a German U-boat and that they were taken as prisoners. However, there's no trace of any battle, nor any sign of resistance. Sadly, the 23 men on board were never found, and there's no record of prisoners bearing their names. They simply became ghosts of the ocean. However, if you really want to know what it means to stumble upon a ghost ship with hundreds of lost souls, you'd better take a breath and prepare for the next mystery. Number 3. The following marine mystery has survived for over 120 years and continues to represent one of the largest unexplained losses of American lives to date. The protagonist of this story is the mammoth U.S. Navy warship, the USS Cyclops, a vessel primarily engaged in transporting cargo from South America and the Caribbean to the United States. For more than 20 years, this vessel had remained operational and without any complications until the afternoon of January 9, 1918, when it was forced to make an unplanned stop in the islands of Barbados. According to reports, the ship was overloaded and was forced to make that stop. However, after the pertinent checks at the port, there was no record of any anomaly. The ship was in perfect condition, so the 306 passengers working on this vessel added a new cargo and departed for Baltimore. Mysteriously, the ship never arrived at its destination. More than 2 months of searching passed and there was not a single response. The entire wide expanse of the sea was scoured for survivors or at least a body. Nearby islands were visited in search of a castaway. Submarines were sent to search the waters, but all to no avail. The ship inexplicably disappeared with its 306 souls on board, and without leaving a single clue or sign that will allow us to guess its whereabouts. To this day, this event remains unexplained and represents the greatest maritime tragedy in the United States. Never in its history has so many lives been lost in such an unexplained manner. However, when it comes to unexplained events, what happened to this colossal ship seems like a children's story when compared to the next chilling mystery on the list. Number 2. Disappearances in the ocean don't always have an unexplained origin. Sometimes they are produced by the invisible claws of creatures that neither science nor logic can explain. One of the most illustrative cases was recently decoded from ancient German archives. The protagonist was Freiherr von Forster, the captain of the submarine U-28 Smith, who was loitering 60 miles off Ireland on July 30th, 1915, when he came across an English vessel carrying automobiles and a number of unknown materials. The submarine prepared to open fire, and in less than a second, torpedoes were about to be dispatched to sink the enemy vessel along with the 61 crewmen. However, 2 seconds before firing, something inexplicable happened. From the depths of the sea, a strange reptile-like creature emerged. It was at least 18 meters long, with a pointed head and 4 legs covered with sharp claws that it began to use, along with its teeth, to tear the ship's wood. In less than 5 minutes, the ship was sinking. The beast had been wounded by the crewmen's guns, but the ship was doomed to sink. According to the report, the Germans did nothing more than watch the Grizzly Event in slow motion. The ship sank deeper and deeper until all that remained was the sound of the pained screams of the crewmen being torn to pieces by the unnatural creature. However, the fear that the Germans felt in the presence of this creature was only the first bite of something bigger. Shortly thereafter, a chilling event would make the German army's top commanders prefer to surrender themselves as prisoners rather than face what lurked in the depths of the ocean. Number 1. The following chilling mystery has never ceased to be one of the most inexplicable events of World War I. Many would say it was a fabrication, and they might be right if their protagonist had not lived for so long and always kept the same version of their story. The events occurred on April 30th, 1918, when a British Navy patrol ship called Coreopsis discovered the German submarine UB-85 off the coast. This was unusual. The reaction time was short. U-boats were lethal weapons that could annihilate with frightening ease. The British immediately opened fire on the submarine, but it didn't respond. There was no attack, nor any aggression. The submarine seemed abandoned until it began to sink. It was at that moment that the crew came out of the ship, completely terrified, but not because of the fear of dying, but because of the terror they felt at sea. The group of Germans on the submarine UB-85 surrendered immediately, but every man dissociated reality. Most of them screamed in horror, covered their ears, and some even fainted. Days later, when they were interrogated, something that silenced the British was discovered. According to the captain of the submarine, before being intercepted by the patrol, they had fought against a beast never seen before. It was a 20-meter-long sea serpent that screamed so loudly underwater that it emitted a high-pitched, deafening whistle capable of paralyzing the body. The beast coiled around the submarine and tried to slit the metal with its sharp teeth but failed. Of course, that didn't stop its fury. It continued to attack the paralyzed crew for hours. The men only managed to lie on the ground and listen to the pounding against the metal and that high-pitched scream that they've never been able to get out of their heads. After several hours, the creature disappeared. It moved off into the distance, but no one was sure. Immediately, they raced the submarine to the surface, not caring if there were any enemy on the shore, and it was then that they were captured. Since the capture, several of those German soldiers lost their sanity, and some were interned in psychological care centers where they died within a few weeks. The survivors were never the same again, and even before they died in old age, they continued to remember the shadowy creature that was about to end their lives. Undoubtedly, this mystery has never been declared real, although the British managed to recover the submarine, and indeed, there were traces of abnormal bites, dented metal, and numerous marks that reveal an attack of some sea beast. Even so, these mysteries remain in the air, although it would be better to say underwater, in the oceans, submerged as inexplicable facts that no one has managed to solve. However, as you can imagine, these are just some of the great secrets of the oceans. In these vast waters, there are thousands of disturbing events, and if you're willing to know more, you just have to check out the following videos and let the fear run through your body.